Welcome to the Care Sis Podcast with me, Ki and Kiki.
Join two friends for a conversation around self-care in real life. We'll talk about anything on the spectrum from bubble baths to setting boundaries to managing friendships and more.
As your sisters, we also just want to provide a weekly check-in. You know, like big sis asking little sis, sis, you good? So come on in, sis. Let's talk about how we can take better care of ourselves.
Hey y'all, it's Kiki here, and I know that we are still on our break until after the new year, but this week we are bringing you a special episode, and it's just an episode filled with our best topics from this year, from 2022. It's always good to go back and reflect on the things that we've done, and we have brought you all some of the best topics that we thought would help you in your journey of self-care. And so we've just put together just a few minutes from each episode that we thought was interesting and beneficial. And we'll also put in the show notes which episode it's from, and then you can go back and listen to your favorite episode. I hope you're having a wonderful holiday season, and we will see y'all in the new year. So enjoy this episode, and always, always, always remember to take care of yourselves. From us, Ki and Kiki of Care Sis Podcast. Enjoy.
All right, sis, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about the different types of self-care. So this podcast is about self-care, right? So we're going to just dive into the different types of it, because we all know that, you know, people associate self-care with bubble baths and manicures and pedicures, all of the surface level stuff, but there are many different layers to this self-care journey. There are many different ways you can indulge in self-care. And that's what we want to talk about today.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
So, if self-care is self-love, why is it so hard to do? Kiki?
Because everybody, we live in a society where it's okay, where people have made it okay to pack your schedule with everything. Mm-hmm. Like, everybody looks at productivity in a way where you don't need to sleep, you don't need to have much free time, you have to always be doing something. And I think that is one of the reasons why it's so hard to fit in something else. Self-care is always something else. It's never completely a priority, and that's why we're doing this, is to tell y'all it needs to be a priority.
Yep.
And if it's not a priority, you're not going to try to fit it into your schedule.
All right, so I did a little research, y'all. And first I found something on Everyday Health, and a professor named Paula Gil Lopez, she says that we have an epidemic of anxiety and depression. She says everyone feels it. I do believe this article was written 2020 maybe. So she was talking about since 2015, she had seen an increase in patients with anxiety and depression. So y'all know in 2020, this good old pandemic happened. Or I don't know where we are now. Is it an endemic still? I don't know. But the pandemic started.
We're still in a panoramic.
We're still in a panoramic? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They go on to say self-care is part of the answer to how we can all better cope with daily stressors. That's from an author named Kelsey Patel. She said it's work stress. It's the stress of trying to keep up with the pace of daily life. With technology has hastened more than ever. Just think about how many emails flood your inbox in a day. People are feeling lonelier and less able to unwind and slow down, which makes them feel more anxious and overwhelmed by even the simplest of tasks. So basically, this information highway that we're on, we're now at warp speed. You got Google at your fingertips. You got TikToks and Instagram. It's just we're getting so much information in that we're beginning to kind of feel like we can't keep up. And that's just because we have too many things going on. And it's not just you, it's your kids. Your kids are getting all these things. Your spouse is getting all these things. So it's a lot. It's a lot. And so it gives you, we all have an added level of anxiety, not to mention the panoramic. So now you got to worry about your kids catching it, you catching it, your spouse catching it, bringing it home, spreading it, or, and that's for healthy people. You have any type of underlying issue. I mean, you also have death to think about. That's crazy. And then
Absolutely.
we're not socializing as much. So here comes the depression. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of reasons why it can be hard. But those are just, anxiety, so on and so forth. Excuse me. Ki, you want to add anything?
Adding on to what you said, we get so much stimuli on a regular basis. Like, it's hard for us to slow down and actually take moments of self-care. So like, we're being constantly fed videos, constantly fed information, constantly fed anything. Everything, like you said, is at our fingertips. We do not make time to basically unplug, and that's what we need to do. Electronic devices, from TVs, from phones, from everything around you that you just have to constantly look at. It's hard because this is our norm now. It used to not be the norm, but now it is.
Nope. Yep. Yeah, think about the concept of working from home. Like, I started working from home pretty much as soon as the pandemic hit, but what I didn't realize, because right as the pandemic started, I started a new job in February. And in that job, I would have been a remote worker, and I would have been a remote employee regardless. So I was going to be working from home, but it just kind of coincided with the pandemic for me. But, even working remotely, that's a newer concept, and it's bliss for me. I enjoy working from home. The introvert in me loves it. But, yeah, it was something hard for a lot of companies to grasp, but a lot of people had a hard time with it. And a lot of mothers in particular have a hard time of working from home because they don't get a break. You at least previously used to get that 5-10 minute, whatever your commute was to and from picking up children, if you have children. Well, you are a mother, you have children. So yeah, that. If you picking up your kids, you at least had that break between dropping them off and picking them up, right? Or, if it's your spouse, your loving, wonderful spouse that irks your soul. Yeah, if it's that one, you at least got a break, in your commute home. But now you don't really have that. And my points that I was going to bring up was effort. It takes a lot more effort to do self-care. And right now, in the middle of this pandemic, it seems like everything takes effort because you literally have to schedule it now. Like, I know my phone, and I start receiving emails as early as like 8:00 in the morning. I don't technically clock in, quote unquote, until about 10. But from 8 a.m. until sometimes 8-9 p.m., my phone is going off and getting emails, text messages, so on and so forth. And, I really have to set those boundaries. But even setting the boundary takes effort because here it is. My phone is yelling at me like, hey. Right. So, yeah, it's like you said, I have to unplug. So now I have learned my D&D is scheduled. I ain't going to get all them calls and emails. But it takes that kind of effort. And then just think about it. Like, if I am exhausted because I've worked a full day, and if my mama asks me one more time, what are you exhausted from? You're home all day. If she asks me that one more time.
Oh my God.
She asked me that one more time, y'all.
People think that because you work from home that it is so easy, but you're mentally exhausted at the end of the day. You don't want to do anything that makes you think. I don't. When I close my computer at 5, I don't even want to talk on the phone. Like, give me about an hour and I might want to talk to you.
Right.
Yeah, it's mentally exhausting. We're not physically exhausted like most people who go to work, but you're mentally exhausted. Like, you don't want to think. You don't.
Yep. She got one
Ask
more
me no
time,
hard
y'all.
questions.
Sorry. I love her.
But
Ryan, come get your mama, because she asked me one more time. Christopher, come get your mom. If she asked me one more time, what am I doing being tired? Yeah. So
I just
people
want to
don't
piggyback off of what you said also about mothers. About mothers going to work in this pandemic, especially working from home, and it being exhausting and stressful for them. What I've seen, especially in my place of employment, is the people who have kids actually like coming to work because they get away from the kids. The people who do not, they love to work from home because they don't have those distractions. So this all ties into our self-care talk, as you have to know what works for you. And if you have the office and if you are working from home, ask them, can you come in for a few hours? Give yourself a break and get some work done. Like most of the time, what I hear from them is that they use, kind of the mornings up until lunch to get their kids settled into their learning environments. And then after that, they can kind of get work done, but not really. So still struggle all day.
Listen, shout out to any mother or any parent that is also dealing with the learning environment, because that sounds like hell to me. Like, no, I would send my kids off to that good old public school for that reason alone. This is why I don't have kids. This is why. Back to where I was going with my point earlier, y'all. The effort. So if you have been working all day and then you got to get the kids learning environments and you got to cook and you got to do, attend to housework and all that other stuff, like carving out more time for self-care is just one more thing on your list, and it is exhausting. And so people just would almost rather skip it because it's just like, like, I can't put one more thing on my schedule.
Exactly.
So we get it. We totally understand. We understand, ladies. Kiki, tell the folks why are folks quitting their jobs, Kiki? Why are they quitting?
It is a plethora of reasons. Okay.
A plethora.
The main reason is low pay. And I say that because a lot of the lower tier jobs, if you want to say that, like restaurant jobs, fast food, all of that, nobody wants to keep working with people and having to deal with people's shit and not get paid any money.
They sick of the shit.
Same thing in retail, and even in just like corporate jobs, any job, a lot of people are just not getting paid what they're worth. These companies make millions of dollars and don't want to pay their employees, which is ridiculous.
Because I really need to holler at Delta. Like, why these flights went up so bad? I don't see these flight attendants blinging anymore. But my flights is so much more expensive. And please don't try to tell me that it's simply about the gas prices. Because I was shopping before gas went crazy. I was trying to get back to Barbados. And it's going to cost me double, almost triple what it cost me to go last summer. So Delta, you and Joe, we need to have a conversation. Sorry.
Somebody need to do something. Okay. So we're also talking about little to no advancement opportunities. So you'll see people in these jobs and you basically have nowhere to go. You're stuck in your position. There's no advancement. They're not offering any trainings. They're not offering anything, no new positions, no raises, all of these things. They all tie in together. It's just not giving us anything.
Right.
We're stagnant, y'all. Stagnant.
I may or may not have had a job that just really gave you no opportunity for growth. So you got in that position and you was finna stay there for a while. Then sometimes even your superior moves out of their position and then they just bring in somebody else.
Right.
But there was no pathway for growth for the people in their various positions. So that's a big deal. I know it's a big deal for me. I hate feeling stuck. The Aries in me, I hate
right.
I don't even like feeling stuck in clothes. I'm a move on. I'm gonna move on now. Go on with the next point, girl.
No, I was gonna say, me personally, I think that's where I am at my job. Like I'm so used to going to jobs and being able to like at least move, even if it's not vertically moving, but like moving horizontally across.
Yeah.
And I feel like right now the position I'm in is just kind of where I'm gonna be if I'm gonna be at this company.
Yeah. Gone are the days when somebody's trying to have that one job for 20 years. I'm not doing it.
No. Like you said your attention span, I think mine is almost the same way, because I can't do it. If I don't see a future there, if I don't see any management positions, if I don't see anything that's going to change, any excitement, any new projects, it's hard to be able to stay in one place like that.
Right. Right. What else you got?
And last is the lack of work-life balance. Woo! I think a lot of corporate companies have a lack of work-life balance. And a lot of times they just put it underneath you a salary worker, so just get your work done.
Right.
So you're not getting paid overtime. You just got to get your work done. If that means you work until 7 or 8 o'clock at night, you're not going to get paid for that. You just got to get your work done.
Right.
So that cuts into your family time, and you have none anymore.
Right. I definitely left my last job due to lack of work-life balance. But work-life balance looks a little different for me. Because I got this whole yoga thing on the side, I wasn't able to really put any effort into it. And so, I wasn't teaching classes, and that was due partly to the pandemic. But as this panoramic is, the world is opening back up, I need to teach again. And I just couldn't do it at that space. So that was ultimately why I left, regardless of all the other things. Ultimately, I left because I didn't have the work-life balance that I was looking for. And just, when it comes to self-care, when it comes to those type of things, you have to do what works for you. That didn't work for me because I wasn't going to be able to teach yoga. So yeah, I had to look for something different. But there's one more reason that people are quitting. And this is a big one, y'all. People are feeling disrespected on their jobs. We mentioned from the beginning that, like servers and retail, those people are quitting because I've seen y'all folks. Y'all go in there and just talk to them any old kind of way. And
yes, they do. And
I've been a server here in North Carolina. And when I tell you, the folks just act like tipping is... I had to get out of serving. It served its purpose when I was trying to pursue grad school, when I was taking classes. But listen, y'all treat servers like some trash. So yeah, the disrespect. And then, on some of these more corporate jobs, you got these middle managers that don't know how to talk to people. Yeah. Disrespectful. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna move on. Kiki, did you know that it's those employees or those people in the workforce without 4-year degrees that quit at a higher rate? And they quit for reasons like the COVID vaccine requirements or lack of schedule flexibility and lack of hours. I'm going to take it back to, and not that I'm picking on y'all, because I love my servers. I love to eat. I don't like to cook. So, I frequent some restaurants. So going back to, because that's where I've seen it hit the hardest. Like nowadays, I have been cooking a whole lot more because I hate to eat out now, because anything that you do, like what used to take like, you could go to lunch in 30, 45 minutes. If you had an hour, you could go somewhere, pick some food up, maybe even eat inside and still get back to the office and then out. Not no more. So going back to my servers, lack of schedule flexibility is a big deal. And that has always been a thing. And eventually you just get sick of the shit. because, you know, you want to do things, you want to have a life. Heaven forbid. I used to feel so horrible for the girls that I would wait tables with. I used to feel so, or bartend with. I hated for them, like the ones with kids, because it would be a whole like management meltdown for them to have to be able to have a schedule where they could pick their kids up. Or I've seen girls not get hired because they had to be off by like 2, or they had to, you know, just dumb stuff when it comes to schedule flexibility. So that's real.
So for the most part, workers who quit a job last year and are now employed somewhere else see their current work situation as an improvement over their most recent job. At least half of these workers say that compared with their last job, they are now earning more money, they have more opportunities for advancement, they have an easier time balancing work and family responsibilities, and have more flexibility to choose when they put in their work hours.
Can I say
And
something?
yeah.
You and I talked about this before. You and I talked about how you and I both, being, you know, we don't have children, how we both enjoy working from home, but we know that people with kids would much rather be back in the office. And that's not for everybody, but I can tell you that some of my friends who have children, they're just like, yes, ready to go back to the office. Me, on the other hand, I'm gonna try to avoid working in the office for at least the next like 10 years.
Right.
So I'm gonna try to avoid it as possible. But that balancing work and family responsibilities, that's major. And I remember seeing in an article that this was even true and higher. Like men left their jobs for lack of work-life balance. And so it's more men that are actually now getting work-life balance with these new job opportunities as opposed to before. So men folks, congratulations. Y'all stepping, not too many men listen to this podcast, but whatever. Y'all stepping up in the household, and we women appreciate it. But yeah, that's major. Super major. That's all I got.
Yeah, but you say that, and it seems like women need that work-life balance a little more.
They ain't finna yell at me. I didn't say that, y'all. KiKi said it. I don't care. She said what she said. Okay, go ahead.
I said what I said. For the most part, women need that work-life balance a little more. And most of the time when women apply to these jobs, they have more trouble getting them because, like we said before, they don't have the flexibility. You got kids, you got to go pick them up. What can you do?
Right. Now, that is true. I will amen that one.
That's what I meant. I didn't mean that in the most sexist way possible, but in the most logical way, yes, the women, especially those who have kids, need that work-life balance a little more. And that's also for the men who actually are the primary caregivers. They need that too.
Agree.
Okay, so the Labor Department has seen the greatest drop-off in low-skilled or non-degreed workers as companies are dropping degree requirements, which is very interesting. Yes.
So I went all the way to that blue school to get a whole degree.
And
y'all been telling folks. For the last up 10 years, y'all been telling folks, oh, you got to have a 4-year degree. Now y'all just going to remove degree requirements while I'm still paying on these good loans? JoJo, this don't make no sense, JoJo. Like, make it right.
Right. At least give up these student loans. Please, take them away.
Take them away, JoJo. Take them away. KiKi, why is it so hard to say no?
So it is hard for us to say no because a couple different things. Sometimes we get into a space where we are trying to people please. That means that we want everybody to be happy all the time. We don't want to really disappoint others, so that's fear of disappointing people. And then you have the need to be there for others. I know I fall into that category a lot. Like, I feel like I have to be there for everyone. And also going back to the people pleasing, you're trying to avoid conflict or keep peace. These are all the things that keep you from saying no.
So, when we were talking about this, or I was going over the notes for this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about people pleasing, fear disappointing others, the need to be there for everyone, and trying to avoid conflict / keep the peace. And I realized that is so me. Now, here we go. So I am one big walking contradiction, and I'm okay with it. So as much as I'd be like, I don't really care, I do care, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like disappointing certain people in my life, namely that woman and that man that created me. By the way, I sent my mama this last podcast. Anyway, I sent it to a friend. I did. She needed to know. I still ain't got no Easter basket though. But I don't like disappointing my parents, and I've lived with that for a long time. Like, fear of disappointing my parents made a lot of decisions for me, namely the 4 years of college, and trying to pursue a higher education since then. Like, all of that was for my parents. I got to a point where I was just like, am I living my life or theirs?
Mm-hmm.
But I really think, and I'm gonna challenge anyone on this is a daughter's plight. The Black daughter, or not only the daughter, I am kind of like a middle first child. So I think it's a first child thing, and I definitely think it's a daughter thing. And I could be wrong, but definitely as the first daughter, that's a weird place to be. And you become all of those things by like age 6. So you're into people pleasing, because you're helping take care of the younger siblings. You're making sure they're okay. And then when your older sibling is a boy, no one wants to give boys responsibility. So I'd be like, yo, you got to watch your brothers. Wait, but he's older than me. You got to watch your brothers anyway.
Yeah, that seems to be a problem. I can't relate to that because I'm an only child. I grew up an only child. Oh. But definitely I do the same thing. I care a lot about people that mean something to me, like you said. I don't want to disappoint other people. I don't want to let people down. And if I know that they've been there for me, I feel bad if I say no to something. And that kind of makes it a conflict for me in my mind. Like, do I say no? Do I say yes? Do I do it because I know that they'll do the same thing for me? Or do I not do it because I just ain't got the energy? It's a constant conflict sometimes.
Yeah. And then I'm always trying, not necessarily here to be a peacekeeper, but I will avoid conflict. And so you're going to get a out of me when I just don't want to talk about it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not necessarily me saying no. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's not the same as saying no. It's just, I want to avoid the conflict. So I'm going to just be like,
right.
I want it to be over now.
Especially if it's something that's kind of, recurring.
Okay.
It keeps coming up and there's no solution, and you just get to a point where you're like, whatever, I'm just going to do this and get it over with.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to deal with it no more.
Right. All right. Here we go. So, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and Kiki and I are wellness practitioners, right? We can teach you about self-care, we can teach you about mindfulness, yoga, stuff like that. But we have been talking to y'all, and we kind of bring y'all, we try to bring out the science as much as possible, because that's who I am as a person. I am a science nerd. So we try to bring out as much science as possible, but we decided this time to just go on and bring a professional. So here we got Dr. Blue. Dr. Blue. So first of all, we got some questions for you, Miss Ma'am.
Yes.
How did you become a therapist? Like, what made you go in that route?
Oh, wow. This is always a loaded question for me, but I'm very, very transparent. The journey was not easy. I can say that, and it didn't exist. I'm an elder millennial as well. So therapy wasn't something that was normalized, at least in my community. I came from poverty. So living in an environment where scarcity is the mindset really does impact what mental health looks like and feels like. So I started the journey through trauma. I grew up in a household with domestic violence and substance abuse. I had a veteran for a parent. My father was a Vietnam vet. So definitely some mental illness and things going on. So my interaction with therapy came through CPS, intervention. Therapy is needed for health reasons, or actually right before going away to college, we went through a domestic violence experience and stayed in a women's shelter. And so with scarcity in housing, the mandatory requirement to stay there was to go to therapy. So I had this Caucasian woman, all the therapists were always Caucasian, tell me, hey, this is not normal. This is not how people live. You and your mother do not have to live that way. So that was my aha moment, not only to experience change, but to become the change that I wanted to see. So wanting to be a representative of the culture, wanting people to know that therapists aren't like this. Well, we are super goddesses and gods, but we're out here humans being and learning and growing and deciding to be practitioners of wellness as far as emotional health. So outside of the traditional going through getting a doctorate, sitting for a licensing exam and doing lots and lots of education and research, really life taught me, the School of Life taught me how to be Dr. Blue.
That's so dope. And you answered my next question about the aha moment. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Dr. B, what do you do for self-care?
Everything. So, of course, that's how I found my lovely soror sister, through yoga, meditation, prayer, sun exposure, eating properly, working out, having a millionaire mastermind group of like-minded people I bounce ideas off of, being intentional about my environment, all the things, anything I could think of for that mind, body, spirit care is there. But more than anything, it's meditation and being in conscious awareness of my thoughts is what I do for self-care. I start my day with me, I end my day with me and only me, so that I can be in receptive mode for downloads or guidance, or just knowing when something is wrong. If you don't listen to yourself and you're always distracted, how can you care for yourself? So that's my at least consistent practice, is always doing meditation.
And didn't you say you're a boy mom of 2?
Yes, I have a 4, almost 5-year-old and a 10-year-old.
Are you okay, sis?
No, I am not. He's almost as tall as me and I'm 5'8". I'm not feeling this. There's no growth hormone yet. Like, what's happening?
I think that's amazing that you managed to fit all of that in and you're still a boy mom. And did I understand this correctly? You do homeschool?
Yes, I do homeschool full time.
Girl. So listen, all you moms, I'm not a mom shaming and I'm not mom shaming now, but listen, y'all can fit into self-care too. That's all I'm saying.
It's mandatory. You can't be a good mom without it. There's no mom shame, but you cannot be a good mother to your children if you're not good to yourself. How do you know how?
Okay. You actually answered my next question, which was, if you could tell our female listeners anything about self-care, what would you say? I feel like that one was a good one, but if you have anything else to add.
Yeah, self-care is not an indulgence. It's not selfish. It's nothing to feel guilty about. I've heard you guys mention it over and over. It's more than manis and petties, right? So when you think of self-care, really think of care of the self. What do you need? What do you want? How are you feeling? And then what are the actions behind those emotions? That is the act of self-care. So we care for children. We can nurture our booze. We can be there for work. We're caring in those positions. So this is the same position you hold for yourself. That's what I would tell our female listeners, to make it mandatory. It's a requirement for wellness.
So how can we effectively process what's been happening to people of color regarding Buffalo, school shootings, police brutality, and other things?
So, first, I just feel like to disclaim this is for informational purposes and does not take the place of therapy with a qualified, board certified mental health professional, wellness practitioner, someone who has done an energy exchange to be a provider of wellness. Let's put that out there. We want to,
With the disclaimer.
yes, ma'am. Let's put that out there because
I was
people
about
will
to
listen
say,
to
talk your
this
shit.
and
Talk your
start
shit.
diagnosing folks, and I'll be like, wait, no, that's not how we roll. But initially with trauma, I think the biggest thing is to understand you never know what you don't know, and to be open and receptive to support and help. So a lot of times, and I may skip around a little bit because I know you guys ask like when is the right time to come to therapy, but it's relevant in this moment when we talk about trauma. All trauma responses aren't negative. Okay, so hypervigilance is a trauma response. So people can become very controlling. They can be very independent. They can learn not to ask for help. They can do it all themselves. Typically, Black women, one of my target audiences, women of color, find themselves being very successful and have had some of the most traumatic experiences that you wonder, like, sis, how are you still standing here today in all of your glory and goddess greatness? So the first, I think, step for dealing with trauma is just being open to the fact that everybody can use support, love, and help. And that if you're not feeling like yourself, and you're going to know self better than anybody, including a board certified professional, you're going to know when you start to not feel pleasure and joy in things that typically made you feel good. When you're sleeping too much or you're not sleeping enough, because there are different types of rest. So if you're laying down for 7 to 8 hours and you're still waking up exhausted, it's maybe time to tap in and figure out if that's a trauma response. If you're very, very stressed at all things, so irritable, short-tempered, impatient, and you're usually a kind, loving person, but everything feels like the straw that breaks the camel's back for you. The best way to phrase it, when life be lifing, that's the time to go and see why life got these hands. And if you need support and trauma work in order to process and release whatever you're holding within yourself, that you're going to see manifested in your lifestyle, in your body, in your finances, in your boo thing, the universe is going to slap you in the face until you pay attention. So that would be my first and foremost, how to deal with trauma, is to be an observer, no longer an absorber of the trauma, be it a school shooting or a bad relationship. Don't carry it with you. Learn how to let it go and leave it all on the dance floor, as I like to say when clients have session.
So the second type of rest is sensory rest. So y'all know that we have so much stimuli on a daily basis. So all the sounds and sights around us, it grabs our attention all the time. And we automatically or kind of subconsciously respond to everything. So, notifications on our phones, emails, social media, messages, all the bright lights from all of the devices that we use. Also distracting noises. So it can be cars in the background, your kids playing while you're trying to work, overhearing coworkers' conversations or anybody's conversations for that matter. All of these things, they stimulate your senses. So when you actually need sensory rest, I want you to pay attention to when you have feelings of agitation or irritation, rage or anger. You may start the day feeling great and then later notice that these feelings are coming up towards the end of that day.
I'll never forget. I went to college here in North Carolina. I went to the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And so lived on campus. On campus has its own, hum and noise to it, right? Then me and my roommates, we moved off campus. We were living in Durham, but at this point where we lived in Durham was fairly quiet. So I remember the adjustment of trying to sleep because, I went from the dorm to an apartment, but I still lived in North Carolina. My first apartment when I moved to the DC area after graduation, I live near a fire station. It's nothing like being woken up in the middle of the night, in the middle of your good sleep, from a fire truck going to respond to a call. So there was a fire truck on my right side and an emergency room on my left. So either way, somebody was coming or going.
Everywhere.
Always. So that first week I was like, I made the hugest mistake. Can I get out of this lease? Can I go? I was miserable. But y'all, so then that next year when my lease was up, I was out. And I moved to a quiet part of Maryland. Shit. I couldn't sleep because there was no.
It's amazing what you get used to, right?
Oh my God. So that, and it's funny because now I don't know, I think, or someone's told me I'm a dopamine junkie. Now, like, if it's too quiet, I'm not going to sleep. But I do appreciate my quiet. Don't get me wrong. But like now I sleep with like white noise. It's just who I am. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Excuse me. I also think about like, people who suffer from things like migraines. They need a lot of sensory rest, especially when that's going on, because they're very sensitive to sound and light and anything that can like trigger more pain for their migraines. I used to have some migraines, a few back in the day, and it was definitely not fun. So like that's why you hear a lot of people that go into a room with all the lights off if they have a migraine. They turn their phones off, like they're not really dealing with people because they actually have to have that sensory rest.
Next would be emotional rest. Emotional rest may occur when you are feeling like you're not able to truly express how you're feeling, or feeling like you always have to keep your emotions in check. And so you may notice that you need an emotional rest when you feel like you're carrying emotional baggage, or you're not sharing with people how you're actually feeling, like you're hiding your feelings. Or again, like I said, in spiritual rest, for me, when that man keep arguing with me, and I just feel like I need to take an emotional break from him. I need an emotional break. Yep. Cause he just, and it's probably me. Truthfully, it's probably me. So when he be like, I don't understand what it is you want. How can I make you happy in this moment? And when I don't have an answer.
Yeah, you need a little bit of emotional break then. I feel like people experience this more than they think, because a lot of people, especially when we going through the day-to-day thing of how are you, that simple phrase, a lot of people hold back. They don't feel like they can express themselves. And it could be that it's not around someone who makes them feel safe, but also like, why do we keep going through this thing every day where people say, how are you? And you're like, oh, I'm fine. And you're really not fine. Like, why do you do that? Is that a sign of emotional, is that a sign that you need emotional rest? Is it because you don't like this person, which is very understandable? Is it because you just don't feel like anyone cares or anyone will want to hear you express your emotions in the moment?
Struggle with this one a lot, actually. Having spent a lot of time in like an urban area, when I first moved back to North Carolina, I was running into people. They'd be like, hi, how are you? And I'm like, I didn't really know what to say. And then someone explained, and then I recognized, I was like, oh, it's like a greeting. So I just be like, fine, how are you? Right? Like, no, I'm not fine. But I just recognize it as a greeting. And then someone stopped me one day and they were like, literally, when I ask you, how are you? I expect an answer. My issue with that, though, is if you are not in my safe space, I'm not finna tell you nothing as a private person. So I hate, how are you? So I truly in greetings only ask, how are you? Either because you asked me first and it seems, or I ask someone that I really want to know how they're doing. But you won't see me just randomly be like, hey, how are you? Because no, I think it's a dumb reading.
You're right. And that's what I meant, was like, if you're in the presence of someone who is your safe space and you're saying, how are you? And you're not actually telling them how you feel, what's up then? That's when that red flag goes up, like, what's going on? And most of the time, people that care about you and kind of know know how you are on a daily basis, they can tell when something's wrong. So don't be in that moment. If they ask you, like you said, if someone actually says, no, really, how are you? If you are still hesitating in that moment, that might be a sign that you need some emotional rest, because you're not letting it out the way you're supposed to.
All right, so you mentioned heart disease, and I know we kind of got into this last month, but heart disease is the leading cause of death in women, and it's it's affecting us brown ones especially. So one thing under heart disease, we know high blood pressure, stroke, and I noticed that in the notes you had broken heart syndrome. I'm like, oh my gosh, we don't really talk about that very much. And in my mind, I thought about, my son has said this to me before. He's like, Mommy, you scared me to sudden death. And I'm like, I did not scare you to sudden death. Like, stop saying that. You scared me to death. And not that you're dying of broken heart syndrome, but just the emotion of it. It can be something that is just so devastating. Just, I don't even want to give examples to, make our minds go into negative things. But, if you lose someone or something just very happens to you, and it literally feels like you're having a heart attack. I mean, you present as though you're having a heart attack. You have the chest pain, you're sweating, maybe you're having a difficult time breathing. This person may have even passed out. Like sometimes we're at a funeral and somebody passes out. And it could be that that's what just the shock of losing this person. And especially if it's still like at the church or something in the caskets, and just like everything is so final and they just kind of drop to the floor. So you're treated kind of like how you have a heart attack. Maybe you're given medications to help lower your blood pressure. Hopefully you're being asked, can you just tell us what's going on with you? That really makes the difference, with your bedside manner. If it's not so textbook and you're just going, all right, I see what your blood pressure was this morning. The nurse said that you didn't eat anything. Have you been to the bathroom? And nothing is ever said about what was happening with you, just personally, leading up to this. So maybe you need to address anxiety. Maybe there's some depression. Maybe like we're talking about what's on the ballot. Maybe it's healthcare, but just in the terms of financial part of things. Maybe you're uninsured or underinsured and you're very stressed out about, how am I going to do it all? We need to have somewhere to stay. You need your medication. My doctor's telling me I need to eat well, but how am I supposed to get this fresh fruit and vegetables? It's not going to last all month. And I'm kind of making up numbers. Maybe you only receive like, I don't know, $400 a month in SNAP benefits. But you have like 2 or 3 kids. And you're like, how am I feeding all of us all month?
How are we feeding Nakia in 400?
Yeah, yes. So who forever act like no one ever feeds them. And so it is a lot, and it's just never ending. And it's hard to, I think, whether you're a healthcare provider, the patient, you're just a support person, family friend, to figure out, okay, where can we jump in on this kind of hamster wheel to stop it? So as you said, as the ambassador, asleep and a faithful member of the NAP ministry, I'm in that too. Like we have to take care of ourselves. I know it's so hard, just as women, and it's not just you're a mom or you're a wife or somebody's girlfriend, just something that is, you're really defining yourself as your relationship to another person. We just are so good, but also bad about doing everything else and I do that too. I'm like, okay, I got to get the groceries. Wait, did I do the Walmart pickup order? Okay, do that. Wait, did I wash the stuff because he's got football practice? Wait, does he have clean socks? Hold on. Does he have enough pencils? What am I going to cook for everybody for? Everything is about what you're doing for everybody else. You hadn't scheduled your own mammogram. You can't remember when you last saw a doctor just for a regular appointment.
Just for yourself.
Just for yourself, yes. But everybody else has been to their appointments. Let them sniffle a few times. You were at urgent care with them. And
meanwhile, your nose is running, your back.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I'm fine, baby, I'm fine.
Across your head.
Right, like, I'm fine. You got walking pneumonia, mama. Sit down. Yeah. Yeah.
But y'all, just hold on 1 minute, y'all.
Yeah.
That was a 40-second pause. In that 40 seconds, someone has had a heart attack. Every 40 seconds here in the United States, someone has a heart attack. And every 34 seconds, so even shorter than that pause we just took, somebody dies of heart disease. And that's what we're talking about right now. We're talking about heart disease because I'm backing it up for those of y'all that didn't actually make the event. So heart disease. Heart disease is an umbrella term for it's an umbrella term for cardiovascular disease. So that means diseases affecting your heart, your blood, your blood vessels, and various other heart problems. Heart disease cost the United States from the year 2017 to 2018, it cost the United States $229 billion. That's more than Kanye lost running his mouth. And to be clear, like Stephanie said, it's the leading cause of death across races and genders. So for all the races, for all the genders, it's the leading cause of death. It's 1 in 4 women get heart disease. And if you think about your friend group, I don't know why we tend to do this, but we all tend to hang out in fours, like twos and twos or fours.
Yeah.
2 or 4. But most of our friend group are 2 or 4. And so think about it. That means one of y'all in your friend group are going to have heart disease. And in 2020, heart disease was responsible for 20.3% of deaths in women. And when you think about all the things that you could die from, that's a large number. That's almost a fourth. So that sets the tone for heart disease. And Stephanie, I'm gonna go ahead and let you finish.
Heart attacks in women can look very different. And I was saying that a lot of times we will put other people first and, whatever their needs, whatever they want to do, that's a priority ahead of what we just need for ourselves, not even what you wanted. So whereas, we see these commercials and a lot of times it features men, we see it's an elephant on his chest, this person is clutching the left side of their chest and they're turning pale and maybe a little bit sweaty and they're dropping down to their knees and they can't even really communicate because I think they just hurt so bad they can't even really verbalize what is wrong. So with us, maybe you're like, girl, my neck has been hurting, my back has been hurting a little bit. I think I just ate something I shouldn't have had. It's just kind of stomach pain, sort of indigestion kind of feeling, or just I don't know what to tell you is wrong. I just don't feel good. So very, very subtle. You can explain it away like, I slept wrong. I just need to get another pillow. Or I've been telling him we need to get another mattress for that bed. We've had it for 12 years. It's time for another mattress. We went out at this new restaurant and I knew I shouldn't have had it because, I don't usually eat whatever kind of cuisine. So we're explaining it away and uncomfortable until, now it's so obvious. Either we've passed out somewhere. Hopefully you're not alone when it really kind of culminates like that. And I don't want to like get us off topic too much, but a lot of times when you look like us, you can be dismissed when you do come in and you are seeking help. And either you're seen as you're seeking, yeah, I'm seeking help. I didn't ask you for Percocet, that like I'm not looking for it. I just want to know, I don't want to hurt, and I want to know why am I hurting? Or we're seen as, well, it don't hurt that bad. I mean, she not crying, she not doubled up. What makes you think my pain is what it is? Yeah, some people do have a higher pain tolerance, but others we're trying to be dignified in this emergency room or in this doctor's office, and not screaming or seen as being angry and belligerent as can be assumed
We
wrongly.
don't want to cut up and get our legs popped by my mama and grandma.
Yeah, some of us that happened, and yeah, you learn to
And we learn, and we just
how
now
to behave. Yeah.
straight crazy. We don't want grandma and grandpa. Yep. And there's some key factors when it comes to heart disease, and those would be hypertension and high cholesterol. And then there's other lifestyle choices, such as, and I don't know why they pay lifestyle choices, but whatever. So like having diabetes, that's not a choice for some people, but maybe it is.
Yeah.
Being overweight and obese, or being overweight or obese, diet, exercise, excessive alcohol intake, and inactivity. Inactivity.
Get out there and walk.
Or come see your favorite yoga practitioners.
Yeah. You have two right here. I've personally been to a class of theirs. You won't want to go to anybody else.
Right. So the self-care takeaways would be,
I said, look at her backing us.
self-care takeaways: movement and exercise. Come see Ki or KiKi for your yoga needs. Self-advocacy with your doctor. And ladies, we may need to limit the mimosas and the fried food when we go to brunch.
Mimosa.
Yeah, get your water.
Can
We didn't say that you couldn't have the mimosas and fried food. Just
Okay, can we have a
Not as
mimosa
much.
and then follow it by water and then follow it by another mimosa and another one?
I don't even want to talk about it. It's depressing.
I'm just saying. You?
and it's regular water. I've had to start saying that to patients, because they're like, well, I mean, I had some coffee, it's water in it. Okay, so now that you've added something, that is not water. I'm saying like the clear stuff,
See, we talked about that before, didn't we?
Yeah.
We were talking about that with the tea. And yeah.
So definitely not a vodka soda water.
Mm-mm.
Just checking, just covering my bases.
Do people confuse aggressive with assertive when it comes to talking to Black women? And I promise you, I get that often.
Mm-hmm. I get that a lot on my job. I've said it before, I am the only Black woman in the office now. It wasn't always that way, but even when there was more than one, it was only two of us. So everything that we do and say is always under scrutiny. Like, people just kind of look at it like, oh, she's mad, and it's kind of a thing. And I really don't say anything anymore because it gets on my nerves, and I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over again when I try to correct people, because they're like, oh, she's mad or she's having a bad day. No, I'm not. You're just not speaking to me. You didn't ask me if I'm having a bad day. You didn't ask me if I was in a bad mood. I just have a very bad, well, not bad. I have a resting bitch face, and I know that. So if you're not talking to me and you don't know what I feel, I don't like when people try to speak for me. So a lot of times they'll take it the wrong way and not ask. Some people have gotten better over the years about asking me. Some people know me like, she good, she just don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
But I put that question in there because I feel like that's the story for a lot of Black women, not only at work, but in general. Because most people will say, or even men will be like, well, she's really aggressive. No, she's very assertive, and you don't like assertive women.
Right. I had a situation on my job recently where I think I've expressed before, my entire team is women of color.
Mm-hmm.
Latino or Latin and African American women. That's my team, right? Well, some of the other teams that we have to interact with, one team in particular is mostly white women. And then it's funny because this particular incident, there was 2 women of color on the call. One was pretty silent, didn't have anything to say. And then the other woman of color, she became the mouthpiece as me and my team, we wanted to get some stuff across. So we were being confident, calm, firm, right? We were confident, calm, and firm. We were.
Right.
But the team of white women, it actually got reported back to my supervisor. Well, she's not my direct supervisor, but one of our supervisors. It got reported back that we were being aggressive.
See?
There's aggressive. Sorry.
And that's the exact reason why I put this question up here, because I was like, I know that this is what we deal with all the time. Like, you're probably speaking like you're speaking now. That's probably what y'all were doing. And
I was even calmer because I didn't want to come off aggressive. So I slowed my speech down. I was making sure I was articulating, took out the slang, because y'all know I'll throw some slang in a minute, but I took out the slang. I was calm. I was articulating. But yet we got reported as being aggressive. And we apparently ganged up on the Black woman that was speaking.
Oh my goodness. Did they cry? Oh my goodness. Like, that's all they needed.
Must have been some tears. But I just found that funny. I thought it was a perfect thing because literally we were trying to get a point across that they just weren't connecting with. And it was hilarious because I recognized that it needed to be, because first it was we were all kind of being passive and like, well, yeah, we just don't think. My colleagues were speaking. I was, I think, eating my lunch or something, so I wasn't really speaking. But my colleagues were speaking, my team. And, first the conversation started off, well, yeah, because let me just give some backstory. We're supposed to be the subject matter experts on the subject that we were talking about.
Right.
They are supposed to put out what we say, or they come to us to get our opinion because we are the subject matter experts, right? Well, so they come and yap, and we're like, we don't think that maybe that's a good idea. Well, we think, da-da-da-da. They just wanted to keep going, and we're just like, yep, nope, that's not, we don't think that's a great idea. So eventually, I came in and I was like I said, confident, calm, and firm.
I believe you.
Said the things that I had to say. So then here comes the savior on the other team. She comes with her confidence and firmness and calmness. And then it's funny because, she eventually gets caught slipping because we were finally at one point just like, I'm sorry, did you say that you couldn't do what we were asking you guys to do? She was like, yeah, we can't do it. And I was like, okay, great, thank you. And all of us fell back because that's really, can you do it or can you not? All of us fell back. And then that's when the next thing we got sent to the principal's office.
That is so funny and interesting, but I mean, not surprising, but I'm glad you came with that story. Hey, it's Kiki again. Just want to thank you for making it to the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. Just going back and reflecting on the great topics that we've had so far. And if there are any topics you'd like for us to cover, you always remember that our email is open, which is down in the show notes. Or you can contact us on social media, on Instagram or Facebook. We are Take Care Sis Pod everywhere. And don't forget to share, like, comment, subscribe, all of those good things. And it's still the holiday season. If you're still in the giving spirit, please leave us a rating and review. This is what helps us to get seen on the podcast platforms. And I think that's it, y'all. We'll see y'all next week. Bye.